Hey, everybody. Parker Gates here with Starting Block. And this week, we're going to talk about something maybe a little bit different than what we sometimes talk about here at Starting Block. We oftentimes get into topics of getting started, as the name of the product would imply, right? So we talk about forming an LLC, bank accounts, first clients, first hires, all of those kinds of things. But today I want to talk about a tool I don't know, maybe a behavior, a way of being that I have used for years that has been critical to the success, not only of the business that I have now, but of my last business and maybe most businesses. I would say that most entrepreneurs feel pretty strongly about this. The idea is what I would call network cultivation. That can sound a little bit slimy. I don't really even love the word network, but for lack of a better word, we'll use that. But it's, this idea of like really maintaining good connections and contact with people that you've worked with in the past. So let me start off with a little story. Last week, I co-facilitated a workshop that I'd been helping design for a couple of months with a guy who asked me to come in. He brought me into this organization that he works for. And I've known this guy for probably 15 years. And we did some work together. He was leading innovation efforts at a hospitality organization that Stoked worked with several years ago. And really where Stoked kind of cut its teeth, actually. And he and I just had a great friendship and a good rapport, and we did a bunch of good work together. And so, years later, when it was time for him to do this work at the organization he's with now, he knew to call me. He thought, well, that'll be fun. Parker will be the guy that can design this kind of workshop and lead it for these kind of people. And he wanted to work with somebody that he kind of trusted and knew. And so that's why he called me. And so, the great thing about this is I have not worked with this guy probably directly in 10 years, but I've always maintained, kind of a conversation with him, not daily, not weekly, not anything like that. But I was always kind of like shooting him a text or an email every now and then just to check in and see what's going on when we weren't working together. Since the last time I saw him, he's probably worked for 3 really like big organizations and that I've never worked with. But when I was in town, I would stop and see him and go grab pizza with him and his wife or something like that. And he became a friend for sure. And so, the great thing is that he called me back later on for this work. I think the thing I think I want to say is like invest in your network, like not just like the transactional investments, like, and I've tried this. Like, look, I promise I've been the guy that's like, oh man, that person that I'm connected with on LinkedIn, like, I definitely want to, maintain that network and hopes of doing more work together. Man, that has never worked for me. Like it usually comes off as kind of gross. Like it feels gross when I send them a message knowing that the only motive I have is to try to work with them in the future. And it feels gross to them, knowing that I'm just a guy trying to get in on some kind of gig. And so that doesn't really work. But if you meet rad people out in the world that you work with, man, maintain that relationship, maintain that connection. It's like if they lived in your town, for instance, and you would probably be friends with them, or if they lived in your neighborhood and you go catch a run with them or go play pickleball or whatever it is people do. Like if they're those kind of people, then maintain contact with them. Send them an email once a month or whatever. Like keep a list of people that are rad to work with and keep in touch with them, keep in contact with them. Think about all the people that you've worked with that weren't rad. And then you start to realize that the people that you worked with that were cool, like that's a treasure chest, man. And that's a thing that you really want to like take care of and cultivate those relationships for something later on. And it might be that they need you, or it might be that you need them. Who knows? But what I want to say is like, it's really well worth your time and your energy to reach out to these people. When you're an entrepreneur or a consultant, you kind of move from client to client fairly frequently. So I would just say like earmark, the ones that are repeats, the ones that you want to work with again. That's all that's all I want to say is that like this stuff, it pays off in so many ways. It pays off one in that you have a friend and you have somebody that you get to talk to and catch up with and keep up with over long periods of time. And you get to refer work to them and they get to refer work to you or you get to hire each other or whatever. Those things are super cool. But, it's also just another human connection. And if there's anything good that's come out of the internet, it's this opportunity to connect with people that, are not local to you. And so I would say like, it's a small handful of people. I've worked with, I don't know, hundreds and hundreds of people over maybe thousands, I don't know, over the last, 20 years of my career. And, there's a relatively small amount of them that I keep up with fairly often, or that keep up with me fairly often. The same is true for my, direct clients, especially like my coaching clients. Those are people that I do a pretty good job of vetting to get in. And then when we stop working together, I still keep up with them. I'm still like curious, like how they're doing and what's going on in their lives. And I genuinely like want to know. And so most of them will tell you that I will reach out, every couple of months with a text or an email and just check in and say hi and see what they're up to. I love to hear how they're doing and how their lives continue to grow and change and transform. And so, that stuff is awesome. So I don't know. Look, cool people, like really cool people are rare is what I want to say. Don't let that go, especially if you have an opportunity to do good work with them. If you have that opportunity to do good work with them, make sure that you stay in touch with them and jam with them whenever you can, whether it's for profit or not for profit, like get together, do creative projects, get together and ideate, get together and ask them to help you test a prototype, all that kind of stuff. So anyway, that's it for this week. Cultivate your network. All the time you get this information, you get this like suggestion to go on LinkedIn and start like cold DMing people and trying to reach out to new people. And I guess that probably works. I've never tried it. I'm sure it works great for a lot of people. I'm fairly allergic to it at this point, but the people that are 100% worth reaching out to are not cold. Those are already warm. Those are people you've worked with. They're people that know you. They're people that probably like you. Reach out to them and just say hi, just check in, see what they're doing. See if you can offer them something like for free, or like tell them you built them something. You made them a video or a podcast, send them a little selfie video, like make it special, man. Like the same thing that you would do for a friend, here in town. It's the equivalent of like buying somebody a coffee or a beer or whatever, like give them something and then just let them know that you're still around, that you care about them. And if the opportunity to work ever arises, man, you'd be down because they're so cool. So anyway, that's it for this week, y'all. Hope you're having a good week. I hope work is fulfilling. I hope your life is fulfilling. Don't forget your life. Work's not that important. It's pretty important, but it's not that important. Okay. All right, y'all. Talk to you soon.